Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well, and today, my friends, we're back with a showdown between Nurgle and Tzeentch. It's going to be the Herald of Nurgle with the Lore of Death facing off against the mighty Tzeentch host, which is going to be led by Kairos Fateweaver. So pendulums, all that sort of good stuff will be on the menu. Now, as far as the army goes, it's mostly going to be Forsaken. Obviously, a lot of people see Nurgle, they think light armor, they think slow moving, so sometimes it's very good to try and surprise them. As such, we have a whole battle line of Nurgle Forsaken, and Tzeentch typically outvalues Nurgle in most ways, but Tzeentch Forsaken do actually lose to Nurgle Forsaken because of the poison and the stat differentials, so I think these guys are one of the best in the matchup. So whole battle line's going to be Forsaken of Nurgle, backed up by some Plague Toads to try and shut down some range tools, give you some good grinding ability. In the middle, we have Nurglings, just because we couldn't bring more Forsaken, and we do also have more Plague Toads. And these guys, I think, are quite good, too. If, for example, these Tzeentchian forces do go with a bunch of pink horrors and shooting and that sort of stuff, having these mortars to just blast them really, I think, catches them off guard. So we do have double Soulgrinder, I believe? Yeah, double Soulgrinder. And Lore of Death is very good because Fate of Yuna is excellent against Tzeentch. Now, for the Tzeentchian forces here of the great legend Aerocrastic, it's going to be Chaos Furies backed up by Doom Knights up in the sky. We have a whole battle line of Forsaken with some pink horrors and Spawn of Tzeentch, with Exalted Flamers, no, basic Flamers here in the back. Pretty cool army for sure. Now, the Tzeentch Flyer is going to be moving, maybe looking for free picks on the old, slow Nurgle army. So here you can see my Herald's going to be flying across. I have done a little bit of testing in this matchup and typically trying to, trade Air Force to Air Force goes in Tzeentch's favor because of how good Kairos and their magic can be up in the sky. So here, the Herald is getting hit with the Void Pendulum, which is an item from Kairos, and also the Blue Flyer trying to snipe him, but he's pretty elusive on that little Rotfly. We dodge part of it, not all of it, but you can see the missiles are very persistent in terms of hunting. But look at the mortar value. So far, great stuff here on the Forsaken. We've also gotten through the shields of the Spawn. We'll see what kind of work we can do in terms of engaging. Now, the Tzeentch army has a lot of great tools. Blue Horrors can really melt big targets. Even the Tzeentch infantry are good against large, which makes them very dangerous for things like the Exalted Great Unclean One. But here comes the first torrent of fire through the trees. Going to be hitting into my Nurgle Forsaken while the Plague Toads back them up. Just waddling through the tree line, looking extra cool. And here they come, moving and trying to catch the Tzeentch forces. Let's see how that goes. Now, the border fire is still raining down from the two Soul Grinders. Ammo's getting a little bit more sparse, but they are doing some okay damage. But the damn shields of Tzeentch are so tough to get through and really can be quite problematic. And here we have the Spawn of Tzeentch, I think, engaging against Forsaken and Toads. Should be able to cut through these guys. Forsaken do have high DPS. Hopefully they will get there, but for the most part, it looks like my Forsaken are getting wrecked pretty good, especially considering that the Spawn of Tzeentch do have Armor Sundering. So the Fire of Tzeentch going down there, I was a little bit blobbed up, but we did partially avoid it. It's kind of like playing some sort of a mini game, but we're just trying to get on top of the Flamers of Tzeentch, and they aren't like too heavily protected. So the Toads and the Forsaken and Nurglings swarming from all directions. Hopefully they'll be able to catch them, while the mortar fire continues to rain from the big boys in the back, and is doing good work. But yeah, Forsaken of Tzeentch, the Flamers of Tzeentch should be caught here by the Forsaken, I'm hoping. Now, big blob fight, and this is certainly good for me because the Doom Knights finally landed, so I waited for their shields to go away, which is really big. And then I switch and use the Fate of Yuna on them, which does insane damage and pretty much melts them. So that's a huge value win for us. We're able to take a ton of damage off the Doom Knights of Tzeentch and take out, an 1800 gold unit right away and continue to push through the enemy forces. Now in the backfield, our Forsaken here kind of getting crumped, but not before they trade super effectively in a 3v1 situation. I was super impressed. The poison, of course, is very strong. And we did kind of lose this engagement here in the forest that you guys saw. The Spawn of Tzeentch have been very effective here, and it's kind of like making me think maybe I should have brought some Spawn of Nurgle, but the idea was that maybe they would be too vulnerable against Tzeentch firepower, but huge firepower coming into my army here as the Nurglings and other units continue to move. But this fight went very decisively for us. We killed all the Furies, we killed the Doom Knights pretty much to the last unit, but these darn Flamers very quick, 50 speed, yeah, so they can kite me very well. I mean, Forsaken, I think, of Nurgle are slightly slower. We have 42 speed, whereas these Tzeentch Forsaken, I think, have 48. So struggling to catch them for sure. So here we do summon in the Heralds, and he flies in to go after the Flamer. Well, we don't actually summon him. He just casually flew over on his little bee and is doing good work here against the Flamers of Tzeentch. Now, taking a big macro look here at the battlefield, I am trying to relocate my Soul Grinders and take advantage of their speed because, Nurgle, like I said, doesn't have much speed. So having these Soul Grinders to move around and goon is going to be super cost effective. So I'm like, all right, let's get these guys, do a little bit of StarCraft scooting and shooting, trying to treat them like Marines to an extent. But yeah, going to be jumping on the Flamers here in melee. They have really good combat stats, 42 and 450 weapon strength with poison and magic damage, which circumvents demonic physical resist. Sign me up. That is definitely a good trade. In the meantime, Arrow getting a nice round of my poor Nurglings here, and the last of my Forsaken, so those guys should be crumbling down. we do manage to rally a couple Forsakens. We have some coming up from the high ground, going to be moving back and across and maybe trying to unify with the rest of my forces. Because even though the Herald of Nurgle is a Lore of Death caster, he still does have the Locus of Fecundity, which is going to be an AoE heal. So you have that, plus you also have access to the Fecundity Army ability, which is going to be giving you, huge heals there. So even without bringing a Nurgle caster with Nurgle, you still can get ample healing, I would say, in many situations. Now, swarming in here are the Forsaken, trying to get on top of the Flamers of Tzeentch. I use Curse of the Slug on them, which is one of my army abilities to slow them down, and we also Spirit Leech them. So really trying to get them while the Forsaken are just waddling after them, but we can't quite catch up. A little bit awkward, and the Curse of the Slug there will be wearing off. So I think that was a mistake. Probably should not have done that. I thought it would be a little bit more impactful, and those darn Flamers of Tzeentch still have good ammo too. So even if 6 of them are able to shoot, it's going to be very, very problematic. So right here, the old Soul Grinders of Nurgle continuing to cause problems, but are being blasted pretty effectively. Flamers able to get in huge Warp Flame damage, and they are weak to fire because of Warp Flame. I don't think they have a natural weakness, like, yeah, in the tooltip you can see it appearing right now. But overall, very, very tough. Nurglings in the back moving in. Balance of power is a little bit in my opponent's favor, but it's certainly still a close game. You know, the big chicken up in the sky is a pretty terrible fighter, so if I can clean out the Tzeentch ground force, maybe we'll have some sort of a chance. And the Nurglings are doing good. We got some Forsaken screaming in from the back, going to be jumping on the blue horrors here. Big charge coming in the back. They're so cool looking. I love the translucent kind of green that appears. And Soul Grinders are pretty meaty. And you know, with the heals that we do have from Fecundity, maybe we'll be able to keep them going. Blue fire up in the sky from Kairos. I do not believe it does a ton of armor-piercing damage, but you know what's really been the biggest pain for me this game has been the spawn of Tzeentch. It feels like they're just very, very tough to get rid of here. Now, Doom Knight's just being used to chase things down. They're the ones who got away. They have like 600 HP or something. I didn't quite finish them. Trying to use Spirit Leech on these darn spawn and wear them down, but you know, the Tzeentch forces with their infinite regenerating shields is very tough. And that's something that you might not have noticed this much watching the game from my perspective and casting here. But many of the Tzeentch units, I brought them low, and their shields just keep regenerating to full. So if you can't Alpha Strike something, like against Tzeentch, or you're in the later stages of the game and your damage output is poor, I feel like Tzeentch is going to be really oppressive and really overpowered. I think that is probably one of the big issues with Tzeentch in general, and balancing them in land battles is going to be dealing with their shields, because it's just like, if you were in a tournament game, for example, you could just have like a crappy infantry tanking and just cycle charge infinitely with your shields, and you're basically getting infinite healing. Now, this was a thing in Warhammer 1 and 2. We kind of had this with vampire counts where they had infinite healing and they were super OP at that point, I think. Well, I guess people still were able to defeat them, just like you can still defeat Tzeentch, but it's a huge advantage. I think that they should probably cap healing to, maybe their shields can regenerate to full like 3 times or something, or like twice, or maybe these shields are tied to the Winds of Magic. So let's say that Tzeentch is out of Winds of Magic in the late game, then the shields don't work anymore because maybe it's drawing from the Winds of Magic. Because currently, like, obviously I'm playing against Aerocrastic here, who's an absolutely upstanding guy. Like, he's not going to abuse it, and like we're playing within the confines of more or less the old school tournament rules. But if you were playing someone on ladder, like in open quick battles like this, Tzeentch could just be like the most disgusting thing on the planet. Like, really, really could abuse, not engage the attacking rules, just cycle charge you with flying SCMs and wait for the shields to regenerate, and it would be like a super toxic experience. Now, in terms of like domination battles, thankfully that's not really the case there because of the constraints of the battle and the objectives and how long it is. But like in quick battles, it could be really bad. Now over here, Herald of Nurgle and Soul Grinder fighting, and the big Soul Grinder here scurrying away. And being chased down by Doom Knights as well as the big chicken Kairos Fate Weaver. We'll see what happens. And he's trying his best. He's waddling. Just trying to buy time for the low ground troops here. We'll do a little bit of fast forwarding as it gets a little bit grindy. But those darn spawn of Tzeentch, man, we just can't get rid of them. And they keep sundering my armor. And now the Tzeentch forces are coming in. I try and blob up for one more kind of big AoE heal. So you're going to be seeing that go down in a second. Boom. There it is. Locus of Fecundity. It gives us vigor and healing, which is quite nice. But in the end, I think that Kairos, even though he's not great in combat, is going to be enough. Backed up by the remnants of the Tzeentch force. And you can see all the shields are back to full now. So they basically just got like 5, 6, 7,000, worth of healing, where I did a lot of damage to them when they came back in, but the shield's healing for like the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th time, depending on the circumstances of the battle, is a little bit too much to handle. And I do think it is a big problem for land battle for the most part. But again, I don't even know how you would balance that with tournament rules. Honestly, I don't think you really can. I mean, obviously the attacking rules are functional, but that was still a close game. Like, I obviously lost on some big value trades. I don't think I lost that game because of these shields being like insane. I lost some big engagements early. I won some, but he won more engagements than me. That was really the deciding factor. But yeah, it's a tricky one to balance there. Now, as far as performers, Forsaken did okay. I would say they did fine. I mean, a couple of them got in there. The Soul Grinders, I mean, good bombardments, good damage against the Forsaken. The Lord was really good with the Fate of Yuna, just getting that massive value. Probably got like 1,400 gold value on its own, but I think one Soul Grinder is good, and just going wider and swarming even better. We also probably need something to deal with the spawn, like, effectively. I'm trying to think how you would do that. Maybe we mix in our own spawn, so we cut one Soul Grinder. I like having one for utility. And we cut one Nurgle and you go double spawn with that gold, because that would be like 2,200. Then I think we have a much more sustainable, grindy front line. Although, like, and then part of me is like, maybe I just cut the other Soul Grinder and Mass Furies and just like try and swarm their shooting. It's really fun, actually. Yeah, I really like having, like, switching back and forth between domination and land battles. And also something else to share with you guys. I'm going to be doing tournaments for both land battles and domination. So whatever your preference is, you will find it here on the channel. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Well played to my opponent. And that is it for now. Take care of yourselves.